early game with the Clefable.
Yeah, but we're about to find out. Our trainers are getting into battle. This is going to be the set that defines the rest of their tournament run. Will it end or will it continue? The leads are out, and what do you know, Ben? It's actually the Mega Feraligatr, which is going to have to succumb to that Intimidate drop against the Incineroar Charizard on the other side of the field.
Yeah, so like, the Feraligatr, if it's able to get a Dragon Dance up this turn, will be in a nice spot. But most notably, Charizard is faster than Mega Feraligatr, or Charizard is faster than Feraligatr naturally, and so just both going for the Mega Evolution and going on the offensive with Dragon Claw on either side would actually, or Double Edge for the Feraligatr, either way, it's going to be the Charizard that comes off on the better end of that. This Sneasler doesn't have White Herb, so no Unburden activation, and it's the Intimidate from the Incineroar is going to stick around, and so it looks like Markus, at least in this turn one, has Jorge on the back foot.
And although Sneasler is going to be the faster fake-out user, so there are a couple of mind games that go into this. Citrus Berry, the item of choice on the Sneasler, which we never see, in all honesty. Maybe a great way to be able to proc that Unburden ability if put within that HP range, as we've got double Mega Dragons now on the field. Sneasler goes first into the Charizard. Is going to be a follow-up from the Incineroar into the Mega Feraligatr, of course it is. So a bit of a stalemate, but like you said, this is the crucial part where Markus has the speed advantage.
Yeah, and can use that speed advantage in various different directions here, right? If Markus thinks that Jorge is going to protect the Feraligatr, then there's an opportunity for Markus to go for a Dragon Dance or target down into the Sneasler, but that opens the door for Jorge to maybe try to get a Dragon Dance of their own, neutralize that Intimidate from earlier, get the Feraligatr faster than the Charizard, and start going on the offensive that way. So both of these trainers have got to like figure out exactly how they want to target that progresses their game state, but also doesn't open the door to a lot of risk.
Well, that's it, because you can easily let the game slip from this crucial early game when you've got setup Pokemon both on the field. Sneasler did have the choice of going for a coaching setup there, but predominantly seems to be switching out in order for Jorge to go for the Protect. You've got the Clefable now, which is going to be immune to Dragon types, and also has Unaware. Get that redirection going. Seems to be the correct play, given the fact that the Dragon Claw was attempted on the Mega Feraligatr. Now we've got pivot action going from Markus' side.
Yeah, and if this is the Sneasler in the back, bringing in another fake-out Pokemon, the Protect switch into Clefable looks really great here, because you can redirect those Dragon attacks into the Clefable, and then the Mega Feraligatr can start going for its Dragon Dance is protected. But now the Feraligatr has just protected itself. There's another fake out Pokemon on the board. Fake out Dragon Claw into that Feraligatr is looking really, really devastating.
But then there is also the option of Markus going for the Dragon Dance, hoping now that he's got fake out easily onto the Feraligatr. The Clefable's not going to be able to do much. It does have Moonblast, sure, but that's going to be hitting neutral on the Charizard X, so this may well be a setup for the Charizard to maybe get out of hand.
Okay, fake out going down into the Clefable, so no Protects going on there. And it's just a Dragon Claw. That's great damage into the Sneasler, but that Citrus Berry is activated. And that is going to be activating the Unburden ability as well on this Sneasler, so going to be making it faster than the Charizard, and definitely faster than Markus's Sneasler.
Yeah, and this is fascinating right now, because you got the speed advantage. You do have the option of going for Dire Claw, but the Incineroar is right. I would say would maybe be switching in right now, forcing Jorge's hand in order to be able to adapt to it.
Right, and this is the board position that Markus really wants to maintain, right? Switching the Incineroar in, keeping the Fake Out active, but also getting the Intimidate down onto the Sneasler, which we know is going to stick. Doesn't matter how fast the Sneasler is going if it's not able to pick up those key KOs.
Yeah, and you could easily be going just for the disruption, really. So I don't see anything going wrong too badly. And the fact that Clefable was slower than the Sneasler. Oh, wow.
What a great turn.
That is a lovely, exquisite play there. You have got double Dragon Dance on the line. Ben, if I'm not mistaken, that Feraligatr was able to now position itself with a +1 defense in order to be able to maybe dissipate the Charizard, whilst you still have the option of being able to get another switch going.
One defense boost, but one attack boost on the Charizard.
Yes.
And those cancel each other out. If you ask the question, Does Mega Feraligatr go down to a Mega Charizard X Dragon Claw? The answer is probably yes.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it has to be. But that forces Jorge to actually bring in the Clefable now and maybe go for the defensive. But Markus, is he going to be able to read this? We've seen him do it before.
Dragon Claw going into the Feraligatr, but is this a parting shot? There it is, coming out. So we've got this same sequence going on time and again. But Markus is on the front foot in every part of this play pattern, and eventually the Sneasler takes too much damage on the switch-in for Jorge's side, unless Jorge's able to find that small window in which he's able to get damage down onto either the Incineroar or the Sneasler. Doesn't matter which one, just needs to break one of those options for Markus.
It's a beautiful sequence and dance of the dragons that we've been able to see from both of our trainers, making sure they cover for each other's sort of board state progression in such a nice way. But like you said, Markus still on the front foot. But if he slips up that one moment, it may give Jorge too much momentum.
The other option that now that Dragon Dance is on the Charizard that Markus has is to instead fake out the Feraligatr, try to knock out the Clefable. That's the other way to break this play pattern, is actually just knock out the supportive pieces for Jorge. But it's fake out going into the Clefable and the Dragon Claw going in. And it's going to pick up the big KO onto that Sneasler. But this does open up a little bit of a door now, right? Because there is no fresh fake out coming in from Markus. So although Markus has broken the pattern from Jorge, Jorge now gets a little bit of momentum to try to break Markus's pattern.
Yeah, and that's very important because now you're just expecting both of the Mega Dragons to go for the Dragon Dance. Maybe on either side, there could be a bit of a read or maybe a focus on trying to get rid of the Clefable with a double up of a Diaclaw and a Flare Blitz, but you need to make sure you're keeping that Feraligatr in check.
Yeah, especially since the Unaware is stopping that Dragon Dance from being impactful. The Flare Blitz is not going to knock out the Clefable on its own. And so, yeah, great call out there, Costa. It's like, you have to double into the Clefable to be able to pick up the knockout here.
Ooh, but a switch out. Jorge not wanting to commit just yet. Kingambit, the chosen one, brings itself onto the field, but Charizard going on the defensive. Sneasler, it does go for the Diaclaw. It's not going to be able to pick up the KO. We're going to have to see if there's any sort of cheeky status. Not the case, but the Moonblast hoping to put the Charizard within range. And Markus now, once again, having the advantage. Definitely in the speed department, but the Clefable does have Protect as an option if there's more mind games.
Right, and now that Kingambit's come in, it's holding the Choppleberry, so it won't go down to a close combat from the Sneasler. So now Kingambit is in range of going down to a Flare Blitz. Clefable is in range of going down to a Diaclaw. But because of the speed interactions of the Dragon Dance and the Sneasler not getting its Unburden boost, the Pokemon on Markus' side are attacking the wrong way round, right? And so this is something that Jorge can take advantage of.
As we see the redirection from the Clefable, wants to make sure that it does best position itself right now. It will be taking one for the team, leaving Jorge down to his final two Pokemon. But the question is, there's Choppleberry on this Kingambit. Is it going to be able to do something substantial enough to further Jorge's positioning? Because this is really tough. It nearly actually goes down to that close combat, but what's it going to do? Who's it going to target? Surely it's going to be the Charizard Mega X. You need to be able to get rid of it, but can you from this range? No! 48 hit point survival.
But it does open up the Sucker Punch on the next turn. And I think this is the opening that Jorge needed to make. Yes, Jorge needed to take two Pokemon disadvantage and lots of damage on the Kingambit to manufacture this position. But this is a position that Jorge can take advantage of. There is Protect on this Kingambit. We've seen a lot today that don't have Protect. This is one that does. And if the Feraligatr gets a couple of Dragon Dances up, the reverse sweep is 100% on here. But it's a tall ask against a player as experienced as Markus.
Yeah, it is, and we do see Jorge opting to go for the defensive Kingambit Protect, but the Dragon Claw outspeed and raw KO from the Charizard ensures there is no path for Jorge to be able to come back from in this game one. We've got Markus in the advantage. He has got that win Jorge is trying to give a couple of moments to himself in order to be able to try to figure out a game plan going into this game 2, because he has absolutely had too much pressure on his side of the field purely from the speed interactions.
Sucker Punch going into the Charizard is enough to take the KO there, but the Sneasler is going to be able to act next. Close combat, knocking out this King Gambit, and Markus taking this game 1 in a pretty commanding fashion. Just feels like Markus was going through the motions there, just having the speed advantage on the Dragon-type Mega Pokemon of choice, and then always being in a position where there was fake-out support until the Sneasler went down on Jorge's side of the field, and it's one domino knocks over all the rest.
And that's essentially what happens when you've got all of these disruptive or momentum-gaining pieces on either side. Clefable is amazing, it's great, but the fact that Markus has the speed advantage when it comes to the Sneasler, the fake-out disruptions, is so crucial in order to be able to dictate the momentum and forcing Jorge to go on the defensive. So, game 2, Benny, sorry. What are you thinking right now if you're Jorge? How can you bring this back?
Mega Charizard X is kind of difficult to take down for Jorge unless you get the Dragon Dance advantage in this matchup. I just don't think that's very easy to come by. But I do think the Aerodactyl is a really nice adaptation coming in, not necessarily Mega, just a plain Aerodactyl. Getting the Tailwind up onto the field would allow the Feraligatr to get the speed advantage onto the Charizard on Markus's side and maybe start attacking down into it. The risk with putting all of the eggs in the Feraligatr basket is that if Markus switches up and goes for the Mega Floette mode of his team, rather than the Mega Charizard X mode, which I've seen Markus switching up before, it's definitely possible, then Jorge could be in trouble.
Here we go. I feel like there might be an Aerodactyl as well. It would change things up. But like you said, it seems like Markus is trying to call out. Jorge goes for the Mega Floette mode as well. Spot on analysis there, Benny boy. And we do have an all of a sudden different board state on our hands. Game 2. Fake out online for Markus. You have got the advantage of it. But the Aerodactyl, it does have Tailwind, does have potential of picking up a KO with Tough Claws Mega, but it doesn't have Protect.
Yeah, that is the biggest part of this position that's really hard for Jorge. And I suppose the big question Jorge's got to answer here is whether or not he's okay with the Aerodactyl going down this turn to allow the chance for a Tailwind and the King Gambit to go on the offensive, because even just getting the Iron Head off this turn while Fake Out and Moonblast goes into the Aerodactyl and it goes down does maybe provide some openings, thinking that the Charizard is not in the game, and maybe there's the Mega, I was going to say maybe the Mega Feraligator's in the back, but that's a Mega Aerodactyl, it's probably not.
That is indeed. It would be quite wild if we did see a solo non-Mega Dragon Dance Feraligatr going for shenanigans, but not right now, at least visible to us. We've got the double commit of the Mega Evolution 1 on either side of our trainers' side of the field. Fake out into the King Gambit, make sure that it cannot threaten a potential one-shot onto that Mega Floette with the Iron Head. Tailwind now activated, and the Markus's Floette is going to have to get a lot of traction right now if it wants to be able to essentially compete against this Tailwind shift, because we've got Aerodactyl in command in terms of threatening that one-shot onto the Sneasler, which, to be fair, does have Protect.
Yeah, it's like, this is, I think, a pretty nice trade overall for Jorge. Yes, you take some damage. Yes, it doesn't look great from a turn 1 perspective, but actually you set yourself up to actually do something that you never managed to get to do in game 1. And that is just be on the front foot. Now, the King Gambit is likely to outspeed this Floette in the Tailwind environment. Of course, there's dual Wing Beat on the Aerodactyl, Mega Aerodactyl, in fact, that would easily be enough to pick up the KO on the Sneasler. So now, Jorge is forcing Markus to react.
Yeah, and bringing the Incineroar in to be able to avoid that KO is quite crucial, but it's at the cost of the King Gambit now having its attack bolstered via the Defiant ability, having +1 of its attack. Although the Tailwind is still available, Iron Head, it's going to be hitting resisted onto the Incineroar, but it deals so much damage. Very respectable. proccing the Incineroar leftovers, which, by the way, I don't know why we haven't discussed that, because that is a very cool choice.
Yeah, we never saw it proc in game 1.
No.
So, yeah, really interesting item there. The Incineroar coming in, coming out quite a lot. And maybe if you've got your Citrus Berry somewhere else, that's the best recovery item that you have available to you for Markus. But now, this is what he was doing in game 1, right? Markus was bringing a fake-out Pokemon in every turn, making sure that the Floette is kept safe for a little bit later, trying to put pressure on the Aerodactyl so there can't be a Tailwind later.
Okay.
And Jorge recognizing that, bringing it out.
Very respectable whilst going for the Protect with the King Gambit, obviously being threatened by that Sneasler fake out, trying to get ahead and disrupt the Aerodactyl. Close combat, trying to double commit there. Obviously, we know that there's no Protect on the Mega Aerodactyl, so it's pretty free in order to be able to essentially guarantee some sort of damage onto that slot whilst being able to predict the obvious Protect from the King Gambit.
Right, and now the Clefable's coming in, the King Gambit's a lot more safe to go on the offensive here. Maybe it can't knock out the Incineroar, but it's doing a good amount of damage to it. I think Markus is doing a great job here of trying to stall out that Tailwind environment, but two slow Pokemon in Tailwind means that the Sneasler is going to be able to go first, but not able to pick up the knockout this turn.
Yeah, Moonblast focus into it. Will be dealing about 50% of damage. Ironhead following up at +1 is enough to finally get rid of it. However, it allows the Incineroar an opening. It can go for the Flare Blitz. It will pick up the KO onto the King Gambit, and Tailwind turns are approaching the end of their duration. However, we've now got Aerodactyl available for free switching. Sneasler is no longer available, and there's an Incineroar that currently is locked in on the other side of the field and has to switch out forcefully.
And then be able to be switched back in to get the Intimidate going. And so, yeah, I think this is something that's really important. Bringing the Aerodactyl in a moment where Incineroar is a quite nice place for the Aerodactyl to be, because you want the Rock Slide to be at maximum power. You want the ability to uncontested go for another Tailwind to keep the advantage up. For the presumably Sneasler that's in the back for Jorge.
I just had a thought, Ben. Given the Pokemon that Jorge has brought, there's a good chance that we may be seeing a Scizor in the back, the currently fourth unrevealed Pokemon, in order to be able to checkmate that Floette, anticipating the Floette actually making its way into Game 2, as we do have Aerodactyl now back online on the field and no Tailwind set up.
King Gambit going down there is a really big deal, but I mean, if you're going to risk your King Gambit going on, it does telegraph that maybe Scizor is the last Pokemon in the back. But even if it's Scizor, if it's Sneasler, there is still something to be able to hit that super effective damage. But here's some damage that the Floette's going to be getting ready to go for with its helping hand from Incineroar.
All right, Rock Slide, not quite enough to pick up the KO onto the Incineroar, but it needs to flinch the Floette in order to be able to survive. No flinch, helping hand, dazzling gleam, more than enough damage to pick up a raw double KO, leaving Jorge down to their final Pokemon versus Markus's 3. This is insane. The way that Markus has been able to manipulate the board is so telling. Sneasler on the other side of the field, remaining, trying to be able to hold on with Jorge's chances to progress to Phase 2. But, Ben, I don't think it's going to be enough.
I don't think so either. There's so many Pokemon left on Markus's side of the field. Sneasler can only attack one Pokemon at a time. That said, this is a Citrus Berry Sneasler.
True.
This is a Citrus, so it's bulkier than other. Okay, the Sinistras come back in.
Cool.
Yeah, this is. Okay, look. It looked like it could have been doing something, but Sneasler is a Pokemon unless Diaclaw does Diaclaw things.
I guess
Sneasler is unlikely to be able to break.
They need a sleep.
There's the Diaclaw on the switch, but no status condition coming out from there. So it's looking like an uphill battle against this redirecting Sinistcha and a Floette.
Yeah, this is just exquisite resource management from Markus's side. The Sinistcha brain is so crucial here. Mega Charizard obviously being left in favor of the Floette. Even if the Diaclaw does get a sleep, it does get a paralysis. Okay. The Mega Floette is just open to go for the damage, at least guaranteeing, most likely, depending on where the Citrus Berry will proc, a 2-shot, and it seems to be the case. Citrus Berry recovering, but it dealt too much damage. And at this point, if there's a rage battle allowed, it's game over.
I was going to say, like, the way that Jorge takes this game is that Sinister never moves for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Which is possible, by the way. It's unlikely.
But Markus is going to cover for it.
It is possible. Markus is going to do everything he can to reduce the risk of that happening. There's the Sinister going out. The Intimidate from the Incineroar coming in, stopping the Floette going down to a Diaclone. And that's a critical hit.
It can. Oh, there was no protect from the Floette, so this may well actually be up for grabs, but it's not the case. Dazzling Gleam picks up the KO and grants Markus his Phase 2 progression here at Turin.